Good morning, everyone. This video will be on the Wrastler, the new Gremlin model that's coming in the Wave 5 playtest. So let's do it up. His card, okay, Wrastler. So I'm guessing this will be a little wrestling model, I guess akin to Mancha, which, alright, that sounds actually really cool. Little Lucha Libres would be actually pretty awesome. Maybe doing flips and shit. Unfortunately, the card as it is very underwhelming. And let's go through why. Alright, so the stat line. 5565 61. Alright. So the best way to compare these models, I think, is the other things in their Soulstone range. The big hitters, I've done a video on 5-stone models, is Lightning Bug and Slot Baller, right? Those are the two best 5-stone models we have. Survivors, Hog Whisperer, Banjanista. We're not going to compare that. Hog Whisperer, we know why. Survivors suck. Banjanista, I think, has its uses, and it's probably more like this model in some ways, but not because it has the auras. So let's just go through the card and then we'll talk about it. So it has Diving Charge, so it can ignore terrain and intervening models. It can discard a marker in contact with it to get +1 damage at the end of the model's activation. It doesn't affect triggers. It has a melee 5, range 1, 2, 3, 5. And then if you have a ram, if you deal severe, you paralyze. Tag team, it's a 7 melee with a built-in trigger, range 1. You need another friendly model engaged to do it. And it's 1, 2, 3 damage with a trigger for 1, 2, 3 damage. Alright. And then it has a tactical action of range 1 to push a target model 3 inches. That's a 1. Alright. So there's not that much going on this card, right? It's 2 attacks, a tactical action, and 2 abilities. So this guy is definitely more akin to the Lightning Bug in my opinion. He's pretty much a damage dealer. There is nothing about him other than the shove that makes him in any way a support piece, right? Diving Charge is all about attacking. He has 2 attack actions. One does paralyze, another trigger does more damage, so there's no like advanced triggers. He picks up markers, but it's just really to do more damage. Yeah, that's it. Alright, so let's talk about why I don't like him, and then we'll go into maybe what I would do to make him more, keep him along these lines, but make him more useful, I guess would be the thing. Alright, so I don't like him because his stat line is basically the same as Lightning Bug's. Lightning Bug has 1 less charge, but the Lightning Bug also has 1 more inch range on his attack. So it equals out to the same 7-inch threat range. He's not reckless. And that's I might have a whole video on reckless just because of these models. So same wounds, everything else. They're same ease to kill, right? Which is fair among a 5-point model. It's fine. One has reckless, one doesn't. That's semi big deal. Blast resistant is I've gone over is not anything special. It's more situational. Knock it off again, more situational. So we're not going to count that. I don't think the Lightning Bug would cost any less if it didn't have those defensive abilities or those cool things. But I don't really count them as making it worth like a ton of. It's just an extra thing. So the thing I want to focus on is 2 things. One is reckless and one is the attacks. Right? So we have a melee 5 that does 2, 3, 5. Okay, the reason I don't like this trigger is because 1, it's very difficult to get a severe, right? He doesn't have reckless to do a walk focus or charge focus attack. So you'd have to be staying next to the enemy. But also, honestly, 5 damage or is paralyzed, unless you're paralyzing a master at a key point, A lot of times 5 damage is just better. Just do 5 damage and kill it later on. So because it's a very, very situational trigger, like how do you know you have to get the ram and then get the severe, and he doesn't like naturally have a good way to do that? Then it's kind of be like, oh, I flipped 2 severes on a negative flip, and at that point I'd probably take the 5 damage. Like I would never think about like I have to get this trigger off because I'd have to focus, have a high ram, and have another severe. So that trigger to me is basically nothing. Because even if I did have Lenny near him, it's situationally at best maybe a master I'm attacking, and at melee 5, they can do something about it. So it's really a 2-3-5 damage, which is good for a 5-stone model. I mean, roosters are 2-4-6 with 2 card, and we all know how broken they were when they had reckless. They were faster than this. I mean, hell, this might even be more akin to a rooster card if you want to really look at it. Rooster has the less willpower, same wounds. It's faster in walk and charge. It charges for 1. Yeah, I mean, just look at the rooster card compared to this one, and it's probably a million times better. Tag team is interesting. Yeah, melee 7's great. You need somebody in contact with you. So I mean, I like the theory of this ability, right? And like I said, I haven't said it yet. You got to play test these and really to get a good feel. And I'm just going by first look. Like I know Weird wants us to play with it, and maybe after ITC I'll come back and I'll try some versus my locals. It'll be fun. But there's something you can just see and have an idea, right? Let's have an idea. So maybe I playtest these and then I'm completely wrong and they're amazing. So I at least have it on video that I was wrong. Anyway, so they have a second melee attack. So it's just a better version of the first one in a sense, right? But they need an enemy. They need a partner with them, another friendly model. It does 1-2-3 with an auto trigger for 1-2-3. All right, so yes, if they get there. So if you get a charge action with a friendly model in there, right, and you have the hit you with anything, that gives you 2-3-4 plus 1-2-3 plus 2-3-4 plus 1-2-3. It's a lot of damage, a lot of flips, and it's melee 7, so it's probably gonna hit. So it's pretty good situationally. Hit you with anything. Start of the activation, discard scheme corpse or base contact itself, and deal +1. So I would like to see one of 2 things with this ability. I don't like the base contact. It's too much setup, right? It's very hard to set that up. I think it should be pulse 1 or 2. I don't think it's ridiculous to think that he could like grab it from 1 inch away. At least because base makes things so fucking annoying. So I believe it should either be 2 things. One, it should be a 1 or 2 inch, or it should be a 0 action. I'll go through his last ability real quick. So he has that. It's a give him a shove melee 5, TN 14, range 1, push 3 inches. So it's nice because it's a you can't defend against it. And it can target enemies. It's not good because it's a 1 action, right? And it's a 9 to go off. That's a really high number. Like that's really, it's range 1. Like it's very situational for this to even have go off, especially on a 5 wound, a 5 social model. That's like very easy to kill. So, and it's a 9. The problem is the TN is so high on this. So the cards needed to like do it. Seemed like I wouldn't want to invest that unless I had some really good move, push some enemy master 3 inches, like a really big deal. Like I'll give it. It's nice to have. I don't know. Would it be better if it was just defendable, but like but no TN? No, probably 2. Oh, it's a 1. Why is it a 1 inch range, 3 inch push in any direction? The Swine Curse have a 1 inch that can push you 4 inches. It's just directly away, right? So why is this so much like? Because it can attack enemies. Make it defense. Make it like make it defendable, because, like, you need a 9, right? So melee 5 or 6, and then you're cheating a 9 to get it off. Like, against a lot of enemies, you already have a solid chance to get it off. Obviously, if they don't want them to get it off, it won't. Why not make it, like, melee 2 or 3 against height? With the reference that if they're really tall, these little models don't have a good chance to, like, shove them, but they can shove smaller models easier. Something like that, like something cute. But either way, it goes back to the problem of this model is twofold. One, it is not reckless, and that sounds really bad, right? But one, you're comparing it to other models with reckless, and two, even without reckless, right? You don't have to reckless a lightning bug. But the lightning bug has 2 0 actions, which are not always used, but are solid. And then even its attack action, right? So this guy has 2 attack actions. That's all he has. We'll count his 1 action as something middle of the road, situational at best. So he has two attack actions. One requires another person. They don't do anything different, right? It's the same. It's just a melee action that might be slightly better if there's a partner around. It's strictly better unless you're focusing. Yeah, it's fine. They're both good. All right. So we have a lightning bug who has a 8-inch range gun or a 2-inch melee, so it's already better in some ways than this. We already talked about having the same threat range with at least a charge. It's cast 6. So this is one melee's 5, one is melee 7. So let's just compare it to Rowdy Grapple, because you can't always guarantee somebody else will be there with you. So one does 2-3-5, one does 2-3-3. One's cast 6, one's melee 5, so okay, lightning bug's better there. One's 2-inch reach, 8-inch gun, lightning bug's better is there. One ignores armor, lightning bug's better is there. This one has the Rowdy Grapple has a ram trigger, which I already talked about not being that great for reasons. And then we have a lightning bug who has a slow trigger, a AoE damage trigger, and a heal trigger, right? So, I mean, yeah, it's a little more random because you get the heal trigger in the middle of a bunch of enemies. You got to be careful, but overall, I mean, that heal trigger is what keeps Sommer. It's like has an alternate use with Sommer in your own models, hitting your own models to heal. So there's that. So other than severe damage, the lightning bug is just strictly better. It does higher cast, 2-3-3, ignore armor with better triggers, and this does what you see on the card. Right? If you add in tag team, all right, tag team makes it better, I would say. Slightly. Its only trigger is to do more damage. If somebody turns off triggers, then it's useless. It's melee 7 versus a cast of 6, so that's nice. It's better versus things with armor because it like pink. Well, this guy ignores armor, so it doesn't matter in that case, right? Hard to wound. It can be annoying. Again, in a sense of a world where you get the attack off and you have a person with you and everything, the Wrastler will do more damage. I think that's fair. If you get to hit me with anything off, it does even more damage. So you need to discard something, and then you need to get the charge off. 2 things that I think are, and it has diving charge. There are some solid things about him as I'm talking, but all he does is melee. All right, that's really all he is. He is a fighting guy. He can't really sub as a scheme runner because he doesn't have reckless like the others do. He's not ranged, so he doesn't have that advantage like a Bugwa does. He has no zeros. Bugs have several zeros. So how would I make the Wrastler better? Because the problem in Malifaux with like reckless and stuff is, at the end of the day, AP is king, right? You can win games based on just AP. Like if you use it right, If you have more of it, you know, a lightning bug dropping a ski marker is no different than a master dropping a ski marker in most cases. Same with like being in different places and all this other stuff, right? So in a world where models aren't fighting each other, two things matter. How many AP you got, how far can you walk and move, right? Those are the biggest things that matter, and then any ability that allows dropping ski markers a certain way. And in that world where you're just running off to the side, there's no contest between a lightning bug and a wrastler. Well, that's a very real situation in a lot of games where your 5-stone model just becomes a little scheme runner. So the reckless one will win in that case. Same thing here. You have a chance to be a better fighter, but it's very. But why does that? Like, why would I take that chance? Because all you're going to do better is fight, and it's only slightly. Because if you need the markers to really be better, you need situationally the Wrastler will do a lot more damage. Not even a lot, just a little bit more. But the bug can do so much else. And, I mean, one, he can't walk and charge like a bug can, so he has less threat range. Two, if he can charge, that means the lightning bug could, well, he can diving charge, so I'm going to just take that one away because the lightning bug can also, like, shoot, too, so we'll take that advantage away. If they both can charge him on, lightning bug technically can get 3 attacks versus 2, so which might even add up to more damage than this guy's, right? Because this guy would be min 6 if he had to hit you with anything. While lightning bug is min 6 with the 3 attack. So it's pretty even there. So yeah, I mean, the whole extra AP just gives you so many more options in every case that why wouldn't you want the bug over this guy? This guy needs to have something, and I'm not saying he has to have reckless. I'm not saying that. He needs to have something that you know what I mean? And just a little off topic to reckless for a second. I think reckless is unfair and both fair on low point models. Something like Bert, every reckless AP besides just walking stuff is just a big damage attack, so it's worth like a lot of stones. And he can mitigate the damage with Dirty Cheater a little bit better. Like lightning bugs, unless they're around something to heal it, which isn't always, they are actually like becoming very vulnerable very fast if they reckless too much. Bayou Gremlins, it's basically a one-time use extra AP to take after your wounds. So unless you have healing, they are dead the second time they reckless. So I think it's fair there. But I think on this guy, even if he was reckless, right, he would just die. Well, I don't even know if he would be good if he was reckless. Would he be good? He'd be a 5-point scheme runner. I'm trying to think if I'd take him over a bug if he was not reckless. If he was reckless. He has some cool things. I guess if you have a really fighty crew, he can come in and be annoying. He just dies so easily, like because he's not ranged at all. At least the lightning bug has some range, utility that's not. He doesn't have to go in to be useful. This guy has to go in to be useful, and he'll just die to a stiff freeze. I mean, a sniper can easily take this guy down. Damn. How would I make this guy better? I feel like hit you with anything could be a 0 action with a pulse of 1 or 2. That way, if he didn't start next to a scheme marker, he could somehow try to get near one. Of course, this would all be better with reckless because you could move near scheme marker or 0 action it and then charge. That might be way too good, actually. That'd probably be way too good. I still think it maybe should be a pulse, maybe a 0, so you can at least choose to do it. Like if you can use it more as a tactical means sometimes than say a just for the damage, right? But then I guess, well, you can always pick them up even if you don't attack with it. So It feels like that should not be. It should either be It should be a pulse at the very least. It should be a 1-inch pulse, or whatever they want it to be. Just because I think base contact is stupid. I think it's too short a range and too like. So if something dies, like if an enemy dies next to you, it's very unlikely you're going to get the ski marker, right? It should probably be 2 inches. Is that too far? That doesn't seem too far. Maybe that's a playtest thing, 1 or 2 inch pulse. Because if you kill an enemy and it drops a corpse marker, it's extremely easy for them to put it out of your range to pick it up. Like you'd have to move next to it, and he's not reckless, so it's like, how are you going to get the ski marker next to him? Unless you put it there yourself and set it up, but then people know it's coming. It just seems like it's not going to go off as much as people think, and not being reckless will make the charging harder, and then he's just going to walk around being an idiot when you could be a lightning bug. His shove 'em is too high at TN, I believe. If it was unresistible, right? If it was resistible, so that means, but no TN, that means it auto went off on your own models. I don't even think it would be that great. Like it's pushed 3 inches any direction for an AP of a model that only has 2, right? So he becomes useless as far as like he can't charge after the fact. So what is he gonna get, right? He's gonna push your model 3 inches. You're basically trading AP for a 3-inch, which is like half a walk for most models, 3/5 a walk, and it's only 1-inch range, so it's not exactly easy to do. You know what I mean? Like you have to be kind of right next to them. So I don't know where that's like, or maybe make it resist. Like I said, height, melee 3 or 2, and then TN very low, like a 5 or 6. So you can't just do it for nothing. But then you're like using a 9 to push your own model 3 inches seems very bad. It just doesn't seem like it's that good of an ability. Like it doesn't. When you see this guy's card, I see a very basic Gremlin stat line with basic wounds for a 5-stone model, and then a melee model that's very situational in almost everything it does. The paralyzed trigger doesn't matter unless you have severe, and even then it's probably not that good. The tag team, you need a friendly model with you, and it's really not that good unless you get a hit you with anything beforehand, but hit you with anything is very situational because you need to be in base contact with it, and the shove 'em is a 1-inch range and needs a 9, so it's very situational as well when it would actually be useful and when you would want to waste a 9 to do it. And if you're going to waste a 9 to do it, might as well make it resistible on like height or something so that the enemy has a chance to stop it, but they got to burn a high card because you got to use a 9 anyway. So it's not like, oh, a 1-inch, I throw it out, I flip a 2, and haha, it sucks for you. I used a low card and got it off. Like, I have to waste a 9 to do this? Might as well, on my own models. That's the thing I don't like. It's like, on your own models, you need a 9. Or the TN should be something plus the height of the model, or something like that. That'd be kind of cool. Maybe too complicated for this, but the weird seems to be adding in a bunch of random shit anyway. Overall, I think these models will look really cool. They actually probably have one of the better, the Lucia Libre Goblin thing. Like, I think Mancha is one of the coolest models. I just don't like him in the game, so I don't use him. The more I went through this card and talked about things, I think it's close, but that Reckless is still going to eat it alive, I think. Yeah, I think Reckless is going to eat it alive. Sometimes I think Reckless there should be like several kinds of Reckless, right? Not just like, maybe it would be like a nimble type Reckless where it can take 1 wound to gain extra charge, to gain an extra move, but it can't be used for anything else, right? So people are like, oh, well, that would make it still useful most of the time. Yes, it would just make it so that if you're already standing next to an enemy model, you don't get a billion attacks. You don't get 3 attacks. You get 2 attacks, then you can walk afterwards. And maybe that's what the lesser model should have. Just a thought. I will he be? It's still hard to say. If you went for a really melee heavy crew, then I could see this guy, if he was changed a little bit, being pretty useful. But I think he's still going to be outshined by the Lightning Bug and Slop-Hauler in most lists because of the utility they bring. You know, slightly less damage for more utility and better scheme running. So they can do more. They're not committed to, I have to just fight. And it's my only use. But we'll see.